All right, so the first thing I want to do here is I want to go over why I did not take any of the long trades that I planned yesterday, because I think going over why I wouldn't or why I didn't take trades is just as important as going over why I would or why I did take trades. Trading is coming up with plans and then waiting until price gets to your area of interest and then deciding based on how things look at the time if you want to take the trade or not. Confirmations are a very important part of it. It's not just coming up with the plans, it's then executing it in real time. And yeah, I do not think there were any confirmations for any of the two long trades I planned yesterday. So, pulling this fib back up, I was looking at two potential ideas when I recorded my video, which was prior to us getting this move up to the range high. So I was looking at the .5 fib and the golden pocket. There was confluence around these areas. There was this range low, which could have given us an SFP into the .5. There was a high volume node around the golden pocket. By the time I woke up this morning, we had taken out the high. So at that point, I was no longer looking at this lower idea. I really wasn't focused on the golden pocket because we would have to break the range to the downside to get there, and we would also be breaking structure. Whereas prior to that, yeah, it looked like we were kind of forming a range here, but if we ended up just moving lower, it would have just ultimately been a retrace, and we still could have put in a higher low. Once we touched the high, that pretty much invalidated the lower idea for me, and the only idea I would consider would be an SFP of the range into the .5, which was still below the range, so I was still looking at that idea. And now let's talk about how price approached that area, the range low, because it was not an ideal approach to my level. We pretty much just came straight down. We were kind of slowly crawling our way down originally, but then it was just a straight shot down. For SFP plays, sometimes I will still take it if you get, just a straight shot down and then you start reclaiming the range. But, I do prefer when price approaches my levels slowly. That usually gives better market cipher setups. That usually gives a much less sketchy trade. But yeah, in this case, we straight shot down, pretty much lost the daily open, went straight down to the range low. And as that was happening, Market Cipher was not giving any good confirmations. So if I put a vertical line where we took out the range low, you can see on the 5-minute momentum got a very sharp move to the downside. Money flow was working its way down. There was no real divergence potential. I mean, there might have been slight divergence potential from this wave, which correlates to the range low. We can zoom in and see if that was even possible at the time, and it looks like it really wasn't. We were taking out this wave back here. So yeah, that is not a good look off the bat. Momentum getting a very aggressive move to the downside with money flow trending down as well, avoiding any potential for divergences. On the 3-minute, it's basically the same thing. We were avoiding divs, money flow got into the red, was putting in lower lows. So yeah, all things considered, market cipher was not looking good. The way that price approached the level was not looking good, and we never even reclaimed the range. I mean, we did get this little wick back into the range, but we did not close any significant candles back in the range. We did not close this candle as an SFP. There, yeah, really was no confirmation to take that trade. It was a pretty easy one to refuse. So now before I get into the next plans that I'm looking at, let's go over Market Cipher once again. The daily time frame does not look much different. It does look like maybe this VWAP is flattening out a little bit more than it was when I last looked at it. We might have even had a daily close, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's still pretty much the same thing with the daily. It's a little uncertain at the moment with, how this momentum wave is moving to the upside. We tried to clip off here. Looks like the VWAP may be starting to turn back to the downside again. We do still have money flow moving to the upside. And, we do still have this direction with these momentum waves. These were all divergences as well. Not very strong ones, especially since money flow was putting in lower lows and all of these waves got very oversold. A better divergence would be when you have a very thick anchor wave and then a very tight trigger wave as you, diverge as price puts in a lower low with momentum putting in a higher low. So, all in all, the daily is very uncertain. I think there are things pointing in the bull's favor, like the divergences kind of marking a strong low, but, the follow-through is not looking great. And yeah, again, the money flow putting in a lower low here kind of isn't exactly a reassuring sign for the bulls. I think, yeah, things are looking very uncertain on the daily. So on the 4 hour, we just had a red dot print on this momentum wave. Momentum's moving to the downside. We still see that money flow is moving to the upside. It's moving in an upwards direction. It's putting in higher highs in the green. But we do have the momentum direction on the upside working against us. But there is also the momentum direction to the downside working in the bull's favor. So, at this point, I think things are still pointing more up than down, especially with the money flow. That's the thing I really prioritize most. But given the fact that we, broke out of this local range, broke some kind of market structure, I may expect a further move to the downside in this range. Just because money flow is moving up on the 4 hour doesn't mean we can't range, doesn't mean we can't rotate. And, again, the important context here is we are really sandwiched in between two very important levels. And at this point, we're just ranging in between these 2 points. So, a rotation either way is not surprising. Even if 4 hour money flow is pointing to the upside, I don't think that means too much until we're able to get above this value area low and this range high. So until then, yeah, I'm not surprised at rotations either direction. So the 3 hour, pretty similar to the 4 hour. I think we still have momentum kind of pinching here. I think the overall direction of money flow is still pointing to the upside. We, are putting in overall higher highs. The one thing that's a little sketchy about this, though, is we did put in a lower high right here, and that lower high was technically a divergence. You would say this high correlates to this high right here. Price put in a higher high, money flow put in a lower high. It's not a very apparent div. You really have to zoom in to see it, but it is there. So that is something to mention. The 2 hour is continuing to look bearish. We're seeing, the money flow got a little push to the upside following that move to the local range high, and now it is turning back to the downside. Money flow still putting in lower highs, and is potentially attempting to cross into the red yet again. We have held the zero line of support multiple times here. Will it hold again? I'm not sure. But, given the fact that we're rotating back to the downside of the range, maybe we will actually see this cross into the red, and maybe this 2 hour money flow does have to cool off. Maybe it has to get into the red a little bit. Maybe it only forms a very brief wave in the red before it turns back around, or maybe the 2 hour ends up being the one that is correct and we end up seeing an extended move to the downside with this money flow. And the 1 hour, is honestly just looking like a ranging environment in terms of market cipher. We're seeing a pinching effect here with lower highs on the high end, higher lows on the low end. Pretty much the same deal with momentum. We're kind of getting that pinching effect, which is pretty common for ranges. You see that kind of, triangle-esque thing going on here. And I do still think it's important to keep in mind that, on the 3 hour, the 4 hour money flow ultimately is still trending to the upside. But what I'm really prioritizing right now is the range itself. I think the 4 hour money flow doesn't really matter until we're able to break the range to the upside. Or, the 2 hour bearishness doesn't really matter until we're able to break the range to the downside. So I have drawn up a few ideas here. I will go over this short first, because, we have had a change in market structure here, and that happened after taking out the value area high of this local range. So, yeah, we rotated from value area high to value area low following that. And so one idea is potentially looking for a back test. I like this daily open and point of control confluence, also back testing this range. And yeah, I think if we do not continue lower right now, like it looks like we might, if we begin retracing here, and if confirmations are presented in this area, that could be a short that could bring us down to the range low, maybe even a test of this important support down here. And I am now looking at a sweep of the actual range low. I mentioned that we front ran some support levels. We front ran this 382. We never hit off of any of these VWAPs, which these have now started to move to the upside. So, potentially you could look at a trade within this range, like maybe SFP in this low, taking some liquidity into this VWAP. But I do think that is a lower probability idea. I would, really be interested in this range low, hitting some of these supports that we have below us, maybe even getting a pretty deep SFP down to this support and this point of control. And, I could fill up my screen with some more ideas. Something that I kind of see right here is that we have what appears to be equal highs if I can get this to line up with that high. I don't think we took out that high right there. Yeah, we did not. So there is still liquidity above this high. Now also potentially liquidity above that high. And that is, kind of right in front of this value area low. So possibly an SFP of those size into value area low. And I would definitely want to see confirmations here, as always. Ideally, divergences as we take out the high. Ideally, we get a quick reclaim. It would be better if we get an SFP candle on, some kind of significant time frame. And maybe you even want to wait for this local value area high to be reclaimed. That would probably mess up risk reward, but we'll have to see how things develop as we get there. This is just an idea at this point. And I will also put a position at the range high because, SFP in this and then losing the value area low again. I think that is a valid idea as well. Of course, confirmations are a must for all of these. And I do still have positions at these untapped daily levels. I think they could make for scalp trades. I would really be targeting, a back test of this value area high though with those. Because we could very easily just bounce from these levels, reject from that area, or we could bounce from this zone, reject from that area. So, if I take these, I would probably be taking profit or at least de-risking by the time we get up to here, and I would not be shooting for any higher targets until we clearly reclaimed this level. Alright, well, I think that's it for this video. Just wanted to make a quick update on my local plans. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. All that helps to support my channel, and I appreciate it. Consider checking out my Twitter in my description. Also, if you're interested in purchasing Market Cipher and you also want to support my channel, I do have an affiliate link down there. Shout out to everyone that has used that in the past. It's much appreciated. And I will see you all in the next video.